let me say, I don't think we're in a bull market, put it like that. It points towards a bear market for me, but obviously you can look at this. You can look at these incredible gains that Bitcoin has had since the start of the year. Obviously, that is in context of the dreadful end to 2022 that crypto experienced. Obviously, 2022 was a bad year anyway, and then at the end of it, we had the collapse of FTX. We saw Bitcoin go to really, really low, taking the rest of the market with it. So I think we have to consider this year's rise in the context of that. Crypto was in a very bad place back towards the end of last year. So, but I don't subscribe to this idea that because we've seen Bitcoin's price increase so much over the course of the year that this is a bull market, because we are still, we're experiencing unprecedented high rates. This high rates environment that we're in now is something that the crypto industry, that cryptocurrency has not experienced before. So we have to see how this is going to pan out. Jerome Powell has said that rates are going to stay high for the foreseeable future. I don't see any reason not to believe him on that score. We also have things like regulatory uncertainty, particularly in the United States. Now, that's not to say that other countries, other territories aren't making positive progress on regulations for crypto and Bitcoin in particular. But in the United States, it's still very unclear. Bitcoin is in this weird kind of limbo. It has that commodity status, which I think partly explains its relative success over the year relative to the rest of the crypto market, because at least US investors are able to acquire BTC in the knowledge that they're not buying an unregistered security in any way. So yeah, this isn't a bull market as far as I'm concerned. I think we have a lot of obstacles to get over before that can happen. But I think the Bitcoin's relatively good performance over the year shows, I think, its value as a long-term asset. And I think investors, particularly institutional investors, are becoming more and more wise to that. Hence the increase in price.
Hello and welcome to Money Talks. In today's video, Guy Turner, founder and co-host of Coin Bureau, discusses the macroeconomic drivers of Bitcoin, new developments with crypto regulation, WorldCoin, and the road to mass adoption. So let's get started with the video.
Bitcoin at the moment serves as this sort of, counter asset to what's going on. So I think with any sort of shock to the US economy, any sort of bad news coming out of it, I think can conversely be very good for Bitcoin. And we saw this with the banking crisis a few months ago in particular. Bitcoin is this asset that obviously exists outside of the US, of the global financial system, and that's what makes it such an attractive asset for so many people, because it's something that can function independently of what governments and central banks are doing. So I think, perhaps this downgrading of the US credit rating, which was a bit of a shock. I guess if you consider it in the context of everything that happened with the debt ceiling fairly recently, perhaps perhaps we shouldn't be all that surprised. But yeah, Bitcoin, I think, would certainly have reacted to that in a way. I think that downgrading probably served as a timely reminder for so many people of just how precarious the US and by extent, other Western economies, as so many other economies are, how much debt everyone is sitting on. And, to be reminded of that is to be reminded of the essential qualities of Bitcoin.
Blockstream CEO Adam Back, one of the crypto's early pioneers, is pretty confident Bitcoin will hit an all-time high of over $100,000 before Bitcoin's halving in 2024, and is willing to drop $1 million wagering on it. In an August 7th conversation on X, formerly known as Twitter, Back agreed to a bet with pseudonymous X user at VikingGobbitcoin that Bitcoin would reach $100,000 by March 31st, 2024. Vinkingo said they believe it won't happen until 2025. The wagered date comes in roughly a month before the halving, which is currently on track for April 26th. as Abak believes that the price will probably reach a new all-time high sooner than the actual date of the halving. Bets on dramatic increases in the price of Bitcoin have attracted huge sums in the past, such as Balaji Srinivasan's $1 million 90-day Bitcoin bet in March. Beck's also been bullish about Bitcoin in the past, saying in February that Bitcoin could reach $10 million by the sixth halving in 2032. This time, Back is actually setting down hard-earned funds to back his most recent claim. Unfortunately, it's 1 million satoshis, not US dollars. That's only $290 in current prices, or over $1,000 if Back's prediction comes true. Despite the small bet, it has attracted some snide replies in the responses, but still reflects a growing bullish trend on the price of Bitcoin among market commentators and analysts ahead of next year's halving. Meanwhile, in a February 24th interview with Charles Edwards, the founder of Capriole Investments, said that the upcoming halving will see Bitcoin become the hardest asset in the world, and predicted that the market is already in the early stages of a new bull cycle.
Adoption seems to have, kind of fallen off a little bit, but I should caveat that by saying that, we talk from a very Western perspective here. There are countries all over the world that are adopting crypto at a much faster rate, and there are plenty of places, many of them in economies that are really struggling at the moment, that actually use crypto an enormous amount. It does serve its purpose as a peer-to-peer means of transaction that, as I said earlier, exists outside of the system. So I guess the kind of narrative this year, kind of, again, it goes back to regulation. I think it goes back to this situation that we have in the United States, where the SEC is battling it out seemingly with the whole crypto industry. But at the same time, other territories are waking, or have already woken up, to the promise of digital assets, to the promise of this industry, and are making progress on allowing for it to flourish there. And I think that, that is driven in part by the spirit of competition. I think that's something that you can see, particularly with the EU. EU passed its markets in crypto assets bill a while back. That is still kind of being worked on. I think we could still see some changes to that, but that was in part a response to the US kind of making overtures to kind of poach things like renewable energy companies from Europe to attract them to the United States. So the digital asset industry, the crypto industry, has served as a good counterweight to that. And I think places like Europe are adopting it, are trying to create a good regulatory environment for it. Places like the UAE, where I'm based at the moment, here in Dubai, they have made great strides towards it. And of course, the most recent one, I guess, is Hong Kong. Retail crypto trading was legalized there on the 1st of June. We just had an exchange, the first exchange, get its license there. Crypto is huge in Asia. And I think in the long term, Hong Kong's adoption of the industry will be very good for it. So I guess that's the overwhelming narrative at the moment. Other places, other countries and territories making a pitch to become a crypto hub and to take advantage of this crazy situation that you have over in the United States, where there is just so much uncertainty. We don't know which way it's going to go, and you've got this regulation by enforcement by the SEC on top of it. So that's going to be something to watch very closely over the coming months and years. How the US, I think, responds to this competition from overseas.
So, what's your price prediction for Bitcoin at the end of 2023? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.